Good evening, everyone. Thank you. We're going to get started. Welcome all YPN members, all of our awesome alumni who are here, and our special guest speakers. We are really excited to have so many people here to celebrate 20 years of YPN. Just to put it in perspective a little bit, the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce started YPN 20 years ago, so they supported young professionals before the word millennial even existed. So they were way ahead of their time in supporting young people in the region, and for that, we are truly grateful. Before we start our amazing alumni panel, I just have a few reminders for the group. Please remember to stop by the Where's the Fun photo booth throughout the night. Our upcoming YPN events, we have Unplugged with Mayor Kenny next week, June 2nd at Pipeline, Philly. We have a volunteer event with Turning Points for Children on June 14th, and our new member orientation is June 29th. You can sign up for all of the events at the Chamber's website, gpcc.com. Another upcoming Chamber event that has a YPN discount, Digital Trends Shaping the Future of Business, which is June 2nd, also next week at 8 a.m. You get $10 off with your YPN membership. Questions for the panel will be enabled by Yorn. And you can visit yorn.com/GPCC to submit your questions to the panelists. And lastly, thank you to our YPN annual sponsors, Comcast ESM Productions, PNC, and Villanova School of Business. Now I'll introduce our sponsor speaker. Please welcome one of our annual sponsors, Scott Merkin. He's the president and executive producer of ESM Productions and also a YPN alumni. He's a founding member. He's the co-creator of the Made in America Festival and was the executive producer of the Papal Visit in Philadelphia this past September. 2016 is a year of milestones. Not only is YPN 20 years old, but ESM Productions is also celebrating its 20th birthday. They also recently became an official Rock Nation partner this past month. Please welcome Scott Merkin.
Thanks, Christina. So 10 years ago, we had a college intern from Philadelphia University come and join ESM Productions, doing what interns do. And one of the first things that I'd recommended, and I recommend to all our colleagues and interns, is to get involved in the Young Professionals Network. Because 20 years ago, myself and a few other folks that are around the room here were trying to figure out how to get involved in the business community. And I'd said to this young intern, get involved in the business community because you'll get a chance to meet people, gain access, network, and grow your career both professionally and personally. And so it brings me a lot of joy to be actually introduced by our vice president now, Christina Wong, your chair of the Young Professionals Network. So that is, you're going to hear a lot of success in the city stories here tonight, but certainly Christina's tenure at ESM with that 10 years I hope is only beginning is certainly one that is born from YPN. And so very, very briefly, because I know we want to keep moving, I'm getting the look from Lisa here. So there was a few of us, and so original YPNers, I know there's probably at least half a dozen or so, raise your hands, right? So we were these young, cool. We were these, believe it or not, at one point we were all young, okay? We were these young folks that were already involved in the chamber, and the chamber had, I'm telling you, nothing for young professionals. And it was time, you know, it was the 1996. So there was the young professional, right now you look at it now, and the millennial and the young professional and all those folks. If it wasn't for us 20 years ago and you guys all now, this city would not have grown, right? And this city has been growing in population every year for the last 10 years. So kudos to the chamber and the leadership of the chamber 20 years ago for seeing the benefit in putting this group together. Now I'm going to give you a couple of very, very quick points about how impactful YPN has been over the last 20 years. We all go to the Phillies games and the Eagles games, right? Those stadiums, anyone wants to go and find former Governor Ridge, there's a proclamation somewhere at the chamber. If it wasn't for the Young Professionals Network, believe it or not, those stadiums would not have been built, including the Kimmel Center, right? Also, we're going to experience in just I guess about 3 months or so, not even, right? The Democratic National Convention. We had another convention here in 2000, and if it wasn't for the Young Professionals Network, starting in probably 97, 98, there would have been no Republican National Convention in Philadelphia. And by the way, if there was no Republican National Convention in Philadelphia in 2000, there would have been no Democratic National Convention in 2016. I saw a table out front there, and Hannah's here, I think, from the DN, from the host committee. Everyone in this room should volunteer for the convention. It's a tremendous opportunity. It does not matter what side of the aisle you sit on. It's about being a part of history and about welcoming people to our great city as they come, and they're going to spend a few days here. So anyone wants me to sign a note to say you can take off work, I'll do it personally. I will call all of your bosses. I'm an old guy now. They'll listen to me. Please volunteer for the convention. It's a tremendous, tremendous thing. And so you heard Christina say that ESM is 20 years old. We've been blessed with a ton of success that all started with the first check that our company ever wrote, which was for chamber membership. And now, as Christina also mentioned, we are now part of Rock Nation, which is the world's most exciting artist-owned, thank you, Sheila, the world's most exciting artist-owned entertainment company. And so, but we chose to keep, by the way, we didn't have to, but we chose to keep our headquarters right here in Philadelphia. So, and we're not going anywhere. So anyway, that's enough from me. You're going to have a great panel, and I'd like to introduce our moderator, who's a tremendous, energetic young professional in his own right. And Doug, hold on to that young professional moniker as long as you can. That's what I'd try to do until they kick me out of here. But Doug he's still young, but he has 18 years of leadership experience in external affairs, community investment, government relations, issues advocacy, and crisis management. For 8 of the past 13 years, Doug has worked in the energy sector, serving as a senior level executive for Philadelphia Gas Works, the nation's largest municipally, right? I said that right? Municipally owned natural gas utility. Prior to PGW, Doug served as the press secretary for the city of Philadelphia under Mayor Michael Nutter. And in January 2015, Doug was a candidate for mayor of Philadelphia in the 2015 Democratic primary, where he established himself as part of the new generation of political leadership in Philadelphia. And let's give Doug a hand, because that took a lot of courage. And Doug, you made a huge difference, huge difference. And so, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome your moderator tonight, Doug Oliver, Vice President of External Affairs at Philadelphia Gas Works.
I felt like I had to jog over just to prove that I was still a young professional. Can't be walking. I had a hip replacement. It wouldn't have been a good look to be to be limping across the stage. I'm up here, but while we get started, I'd like to invite the panelists up to join me before we get started. While they're coming up, and to be mindful of time, I just introduced myself again as an honorary member of the Young Professional Network. My name is Doug Oliver. I am, as Scott said, Senior Vice President at Philadelphia Gas Works. And as he also mentioned, and I met many of you during my time about a year ago around this time when we came before the Young Professionals Network at a candidates forum. So I remember a lot of you from that time. So you may recall that. So I just want to say thanks a lot. No, in all seriousness, though, I'd like to say thanks a lot. Because as Scott said, as I recall, I had a platform that would not have existed if it weren't for you. There was 2 statistics that I used every single day, and it's one that I know our Mayor Kinney, is very mindful of as he leads our city forward, and I fully support him in that. But those 2 statistics were, 1, that there's 50,000 new Philadelphians that weren't here 5 years ago, and they're all under the age of 30. The second statistic is that the average age in Philadelphia right now is 33. So there's a lot of old folks in the city, but there's a lot of young, vibrant ideas that are coming in, and that simple fact alone made me credible, just because suddenly I was in context. So thank you for keeping me young, and thank you for giving me the platform, and next time, vote. So, so I am very happy to be here to celebrate 20 years with YPN. I'd like to give a special thank you to the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce for their role in supporting this and for creation of the Young Professionals Network, to all of the sponsors up into and including Scott. Thank you. First check I ever got came from that guy right there. So he not only talks it, but he walks it, and that means a lot, and you can learn a lot from him. Thank you. Special thank you to Brittany, to Christina Wong, to Sean, and Derek, co-chairs of the events committee, to Virginia Sussin as well. And Lisa, I know you'll be showing the hurry up, move it along sign soon, so we'll get along. That said, let me just introduce who's here with us tonight. We hope to have a lively discussion. My job is to keep it moving, but really, as we celebrate 20 years, to make sure that we tease out of these conversations things that you can use as you go back to your respective jobs and as you think about how you advance in your careers here in the city of Philadelphia, and hopefully that you will consider staying here in the city of Philadelphia. That said, we've got 3 panelists with us tonight. I won't go too far into their bios. They're all in your programs. You can read all the details that you want, and you'll hear more as we get an opportunity to talk. The first is Steve Grandizio. He's the National Director of Affinity Programs at Annie Mac Home Mortgage. And I will admit, I'm sure you've heard it enough. As I was reading up on Annie Mac, I kind of got it mixed up with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and Jenny Mac and Freddie Mac May and so forth. I wasn't sure, but they are approved sellers and servicers with those organizations. So anybody who's trying to stay in Philadelphia and buy a home, I think Steve would be the one to talk to. We've also got Sheila Hess. Sheila is the city representative for the city of Philadelphia. I believe the Enquirer described her as cheerleader in chief. She's the chief diplomat for the city of Philadelphia. Her job is to showcase the city on the national and international stage. She does a wonderful job and has a very tenured career on the corporate side prior to coming to the city, so she'll have a lot of insight to share with us. And last but not least, we've got Kathy Spencer, who's the president of Spencer Consulting, full-service special events management company, specializing in fundraising, sponsorship, advertising, marketing, and public relations. So if we can all just give a round of applause to our 3 panelists. You just heard it, but I'll remind you one last time that this discussion panel is Yorn-enabled, so please, if you haven't done so already, as you have questions throughout the evening, please shoot them to Yorn, and at the second portion of the program, we'll go to the iPad and we'll pull those questions down, and we can involve you guys in the conversations and the questions that you have. That said, I'll move and I'll sit down here. Am I still mic'd up? Okay, I'm good to go. About 25 minutes for this portion, so if I jump in, sometimes it's to just move things along, but I think we got a lot of stuff coming. So I'll start with you, Sheila. This is a 2-parter. What are you most hoping to accomplish as city rep, and what can young professionals do to contribute to the success of the city, specifically the work that you're doing?
Thanks, Doug. Hi, everyone. So the 2-part question, I will answer it by the motto that I lived by the chamber, which was get involved, get results, right? So those two buzzwords, involved and results, and that's key to anything. So with the city representative's role, my goal is to align with the mayor's goal, which is to be the neighborhoods. So we are trying to rebrand the image of the city representative's office by going out and about in the communities, making a difference, collaborating with all the nonprofits, collaborating with the organizations within the city of Philadelphia as well. So there's so many different departments, and we are creating a new energy as well throughout the city of Philadelphia. There's no ego, right? And that's like the best thing. So Mayor Kenny is like the most genuine individual and humbled, and so there's no ego there. And guess what? That trickles down to the entire administration, which we then can bring out to the communities by just being who we are. There's no titles. It doesn't, I mean, we have titles, but it's not about the titles. But we are bringing inclusiveness, and we want everyone to share their ideas. We're all ears. I am meeting nonstop with everyone who are just sharing their concepts and their ideas, and we're open to that. And we're like, hey, you know what? That's a really good idea. We can't think of everything, but we also have to be able to understand what the end result will be with these great ideas, and then be able to execute them, and also realistically from a budget standpoint, because we could all come up with amazing ideas. In reality, rewind it and say, okay, if you have zero budget, how are we going to do this, right? And so these are the kind of things that we want to do. As Scott had mentioned, we were like lobbyists, YPN, when I was in it. We did go to Harrisburg. We did do different things like that. And you guys can do that. You can make a difference. You can actually get involved with the DNC. But we want to make Philadelphia nationally on the map. So not just everyone be proud of it being from Philadelphia here, but also to be the ambassadors for our city, try to recruit visitors and family to come here, boost the economy, start your businesses here, stay here. So these are kind of ambitious goals for the city representative's office, but it's not unrealistic goals, and because we're counting on folks such as yourselves to be that word of mouth and spreading it out there. So.
Cool, thank you. This next one's for Steve. 10 years ago, you founded an organization called Little Smiles. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what inspired you to start that organization?
First, I want to comment on the, is my mic on? Yeah. The average age is 33. How many people are under 33 here?
Oh my God.
All,
You're a liar.
you're all below average, okay? I'm way above average. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Be truthful this time when you answer.
Kevin Cafferty brings the average up, right? Little Smiles.
Yeah.
I don't even know the question. Little Smiles?
No. You made me give a big smile because even in your answer, you reminded me that 33-year-olds are old people now.
Yeah.
You just got to co-op and get more in the group, you know, to make you feel better. But the organization, Little Smiles, you started it 10 years ago. Tell me about the organization and what was your motivation for starting it?
So Little Smiles is, for the lack of better description, like a mini Make-A-Wish on a local level. But we do it in a really cool way. So our primary mission is to put smiles on the faces of sick children at CHOP, AI DuPont, St. Christopher's, Bryn Mawr Hospital, Chester County, a bunch of different, Ronald McDonald House. But the way in which we do it is our dual mission. So we act as a silent checkbook for the people who work on the front lines with sick children, the social workers, the nurses, the child life specialists. Anytime they say, little Doug would love to go on the field for an Eagles game or an Eagles practice, or Sheila would love to meet Taylor Swift or get an iPad or whatever it is, we make that happen, but we don't give the gift to the kid. We send the gift to the social worker or the nurse who put the request in so that he or she can go in and get the hug from Doug and the tears and the thank you from the family. So our dual mission is to recharge the batteries of the direct care professionals who work in our community. So it's a neat dual mission. So we help an exponential amount of kids. For every one kid we help, we feel like we're helping every kid that social worker touches that day or that nurse touches. And really, it was my brother who started it in South Florida. So I haven't seen my dad since I was 6. My brother's father and my mom have been married for 37 years. I'm 44, I'll be 45 this year. So he's my brother. Old dude, way above average. So we, before my parents got married, my stepsister, who I never met, died of cancer. So my brother will never say that's the impetus behind starting it, but he started in Florida. His Villanova buddy and I brought it to Philadelphia shortly thereafter, and this is our 10th year.
Cool. Thank you. This last question is for Kathy. You established Spencer Consulting in 1998, about 18 years ago. What was the transition like? Because prior to that, you had a professional career. To jump out into the wild and start your own firm.
I had a somewhat of a professional career. I actually started working at the Chamber after I had a waitressing job when I graduated from Villanova. My father wasn't really pleased with that, but I refused to move home. So I made more money waitressing than I did at the Chamber. But I'm sure, and now I'm really dating myself because that was in 1989. So.
Were they born yet? No.
You probably weren't, actually. So I'm probably the oldest person here, but I don't feel it, though. I feel like I'm still 25 like the rest of you. So
That's what I roll with, too.
exactly. So after I was at the Chamber, and then I worked in Manayunk, I was the executive director for the Business Association, and then I worked for the newly merged organization as for marketing and public relations, and then at CHOP. So when I left CHOP, I kind of felt like I just wasn't settling anywhere. Like every couple of years, I got antsy. I should mention too, in 1996, when YPN started, I was the founding co-chair with Jim Peasy, who is unfortunately not here tonight. But a lot of the people who are alumni here tonight were on that committee. And it was really a great way to kind of springboard the idea of me going off and doing my own thing, my own business. I actually met with a career consultant. He said, you just should go do your own thing. You've sort of covered it with the companies. Just go do your own thing. Not to mention the fact that I had been married for a while, and I just thought, oh, well, if you have kids, I really wanted the flexibility. So for me, it was about having that flexibility, not having to put my kids in daycare all the time. Working from home, though, I have to tell you, it was a huge transition, because you have to be really disciplined. And any client that I work with, I tend to go to their offices, obviously for meetings, or we come downtown, or wherever our events or activities are happening. But to work from home is challenging, because you're alone. So all of a sudden, the person in the next cubicle or office or wherever you're working that you could bounce the ideas off of, or just say, can you read this? Because I'm the only person reading this. I need another pair of eyes. Like, you don't really have that as much. So you really need to keep your connections, and especially with your client, and become engrossed in whoever you're working with, so that you become part of that family and that team. And I feel like most clients I've worked with, I have become a member of that family, and over the years have kept those connections. So I think that's important as your business grows, or you want to go into find another client, because clients don't always last forever. I've been lucky. I have one that has lasted the entire time. Bring a tear to my eye. So, but I don't know, does that answer did I answer the question?
Yeah. No. We just wanted to give people a flavor for what it was like, and so I think you did it. What I like to do with some of these questions, and now they're just kind of open for the group and answer them as you see fit, they touch on a bunch of areas. Now, I'm looking at the time, so let's be quick with the answers so they can get as many points of reference on what those answers are, so they can kind of figure out what they want to do with it. But they're going to touch on a variety of different areas. And again, I want to be mindful that we're celebrating 20 years here at YPN. And so some of the questions will be related to YPN specifically and your experiences and kind of what you see as differences between now and then. But others will be specific takeaways that people can take away from, including things like how you mentor, what are the most important things to do when networking, how to differentiate between simply drinking and legitimate networking, and all of these different things that folks will find useful. There's a difference. So I'll start with the first question. What are the similarities and or differences between YPN now versus YPN when it began?
Well, I think the difference, first off, is technology, right? So the way you promote things now, all the social technology. I'm the real deal when it comes to.
Quite as much
Yeah, I know, right? Whatever.
Yeah, what was that? Did we have internet back then?
Yeah.
I
But
don't
yeah,
think
we were the
so.
real deal as far as interaction, calling people, email, and things like that. But there was no social promotions. We would call people and ask them to come to the events, like we said, Craig, right? Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's go out and let's do that. But it's more of expanding just your network. Like everybody has their own close friends. You guys are so eager. It seems like this era is this. The YPN members are very eager and wanting to do more. We were kind of satisfied with certain things in a way, but very competitive as well, I noticed, with the group that's involved now. The first to be at anything. And it's just really uplifting to see the energy in this room and to see how much you guys want to just succeed in your career paths, personally and professionally. So I applaud each and every one of you for being a YPN member, celebrating this 20-year anniversary with us, and making a difference.
I'd just like to add to what Sheila said with, literally, when I worked at Children's Hospital, they went to the COO at the time and said, we think we might want to start a web page. And he said, oh, nothing's going to amount to that World Wide Web. Okay, so we really were very, I mean, so much has happened in 20 years, technology-wise. I'm still catching up. But the point of what I'm saying is, don't rely on it all the time. Don't always email like back and forth, like 25 emails. Just pick up the phone. Really, don't be afraid to pick up the phone. And please answer your phone. Don't ignore it, because I think phone conversations can sometimes accomplish so much more in 10 minutes than 3 days of an email conversation or even texting. So and also face-to-face, because that's how we did it in the old days. And I still do that. If I have to email somebody more than maybe 3 times, I pick up the phone.
Yeah. Steve, you have anything you wanted to add? Or?
No, I think that's huge. I think you can't read inflection into
Yes.
emails and texts. I remember when I saw Jake today. So Jake was our intern at Drexel how many years ago? Like 9 years ago, 10 years ago? And Pete and Kaz and Steph and a bunch of you guys were on that board. And I remember the conversation when he was teaching us the difference between like LinkedIn and Facebook, and it's so funny. So things are completely, what's that? I must have missed that. Yeah, you missed, John still doesn't know. But yeah, that's a huge, huge difference. And I think an advantage, in a positive way, but also in a negative way, because people don't interact the way that they used to.
Too much technology is not always a good thing.
Well, let me
You
ask.
have to find that balance.
Yeah,
It's very useful, trust me. I use it all the time, except I'm not on Twitter.
I want to stay on that point for a little bit longer. I've heard the term, I don't know if other folks have heard the term thumb activism, that it's so easy to like or agree with somebody when all you have to do is push the button. But when it actually requires some physical action on someone's part, it's much more difficult, and folks tend to disengage. And when we look at the professional work environment, we have millennials, and I use that term lightly just because I hate when people refer to one whole group with one name. It's kind of risky. But for the purposes of the question, you'll have a group of millennials that have to work with Generation Xers, with baby boomers, there's almost 3 generations of people still in the workforce. And so technology provides certain advantages, but it seems as though it provides some amounts of risk as well. How have you seen people deal with those differences?
No, I think you hit on it. It's easy to hide behind an email or a text or even a post, right? I mean, it's easy to kind of do that on the fly, but you see it in sports. You see it all over the place, where somebody will send out a Twitter feed, and they have to take it back because they realize, oh my God, the whole world just saw that. So I think the speed at which we can disseminate information is almost too fast. We need to sit back and think about it. And when you interact face to face, you're going to think about it a heck of a lot differently. So we'll have our interaction with clients is a lot different when we're face to face or when we're on the phone. We make all our loan officers go to their closings. It's hard. I mean, when you're emailing and constantly communicating through other tools rather than face to face or on the phone, It's just, it's easy for the interpretation to be different dependent upon who's receiving that information. But when you're face to face, it's a little bit easier to deliver, and it's easier to not have it translated the wrong way.
Speaking of that sort of face-to-face interaction, the whole concept of networking comes up. You're not going to do that by your phone. You're actually going to be physically around folks. What advice do you have for people who may have difficulty with that face-to-face interaction called networking? And as I had begun to reference before, how do you make networking something of impact and meaning so that it's not just going out and spending a lot of money every night and not necessarily getting business or advancing business goals as a result?
I think the key to my professional success has been networking and all about relationship building. So I'm not shy. I would just go up in the room like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sheila, blah, blah, blah. Where do you work? Like all that stuff. Cheap by looking at the name tags and act like you know them first when you go up and say, oh, hi, Steve, hi, Kathy. But I would immediately ask them for their business card. I would write a little note on the back of their business card as like, what they were wearing or what are kind of a focused topic that we talked about, just to resonate in my mind the next day or even that evening. I would send an email, so nice to meet you. Look forward to setting up like a conversation. But I think networking isn't just about a professional development environment such as this. My key to network was always volunteering, and I think that's a really easy way to adapt to networking. So you would sign up to volunteer, and there's so many opportunities to volunteer, and that's one of the things I hope YPN always does. I really appreciate what they do with giving back to the community by volunteering, but you're in a different setting, right? So everybody's getting down and dirty, doing different things. You're not always in your corporates, and you can chat, like, casually. It doesn't have to be about business and always being on, you can just have a conversation and doing painting and gardening and doing stuff like that. So I encourage you all to volunteer if you haven't done it. If you do it, it's contagious. You will continue to do it again and again.
I agree with that 100%. And I feel like if you do volunteer, then it's a great way for you to learn from that organization as well as share your expertise to help them if it's a foundation that's raising money or whatever that is. And you can get more entrenched in the organization by helping them and learning from them. And I think that's a great way of networking. And quite frankly, sometimes you just have to move out of your comfort zone. And that's just in order to make networking successful, you sometimes need to take that risk. And I think that's important, is to try a new thing. Get a buddy, try it with them.
So that's my 3 tips. One is network with a friend. It's a really easy way to ice break. If you go into a networking event by yourself and you see everybody thinks, oh man, all these people know each other. And you hang out and you're scared to kind of dive in. But if you go with a friend, it's a heck of a lot easier. Ask good questions and listen rather than coming in to talk all about yourself. Ask good questions and listen, and follow up. I think follow up is where Sheila's a rock star. Sheila's the best at following up. She follows up with everybody. John, rock star at following up. Most people aren't nearly as good at that, right? Cards just sit on our desk and they just pile up, and before long you're like, I don't even remember the conversation I had with that person. So the key is following up and doing it quickly.
I have to use this. So now I'm like meeting all these people. I had no idea who anybody was, right? So now I'm getting all these emails. Oh, it's so nice to meet you. And I'm like, okay, where? They didn't tell me where they met me or any kind of conversation. So the emails that you do send out, please be explicit for the person on the other end that gets them, where you met them.
Yeah. Let's take my notes here. Steve.
You might be getting inundated with emails tomorrow.
I always do, yes. I try to get back, but it's overwhelming right now.
Steve said, get a wingman. No, but these are great advice.
I'm a good wingman.
I know that. Safe. So one of the things that I wanted to ask about, and I know we've got to keep them down. I'm going to go to questions from the crowd. The role of mentoring in my own professional development meant a whole lot. I've got 12 of them, and the reason I have 12 is so that every single month I can go out with a different mentor to learn something, And it keeps me busy 12 times a year, but it only keeps them busy once a year. So it's not too much of an impact on them, and I get a whole lot of tremendous benefit. Can you tell us who is your mentor? Why did you pick them, and how did you establish that relationship? Or I should have started, do you have a mentor?
I may need one from you, Doug.
I have a lot of mentors in a lot of different sectors. But my previous employer, Independence Blue Cross, so I know Allie's here and a few others maybe from IBC, but they had a program through our human resources where they matched me up with a mentor through a leadership program we had, and they matched me up with someone who was in the complete opposite of something that I did not even, they matched me up with our vice president of underwriting. I'm like, underwriting, I am like a people person. But guess what? It was a beautiful opportunity to learn a different side of the business and to learn skill sets that I had no interest in learning about. But guess what? He got to understand better what I did for the company and why I did what I did and how it impacted the company from our foundation and our community outreach to what he did from underwriting and all that kind of world from a financial standpoint. So don't always, like Kathy said, out of your comfort, pick a mentor who has complete opposite skills as you, because you can learn differences. Just like my husband, he's complete opposite of me. But guess what? We're a beautiful marriage. So again, these are some of the things that I encourage all of you. You don't have to find a mentor who has all the same interests that you like. And my mentee's here. One of my mentees, from Leadership Philadelphia, they matched us up from Temple University. So there's a lot of different ways that you can find, you can be there's a coach and then there's a mentor, but and different levels. So vice presidents to presidents to whomever, same status as you.
I'm going to prove that I'm an old guy by saying, anybody remember Opposites Attract, Paula Abdul? Anybody else want to jump on to that question? All right, well, I'll move on to the next one. I'll actually take a question that came from one of our audience members. What was the best thing you did in your 20s that paid the most dividends in your 30s and 40s other than YPN? Yeah, curveball. Good job. Good job. Good
Did
job.
you send that, Jay?
I don't really remember that far back, to be honest. For me, I think it was working for so many different organizations and learning and meeting so many different people and being forced to do things that I didn't really want to do. Especially when I was working in Manioc and I was the executive director for the Business Association. So mind you, there was no internet. We had no computer. I had a box. They put me in an office with a box of files. You ever hear that expression, fake it till you make it? So I kind of live and die by that. So I always, if somebody asks you to do something and you just say, yeah, sure, I can do that, no problem. Like Scott Mergen asked me to handle translation services for the papal visit. No problem, I got it. I only speak English, but does that matter? No, we got it. So I think just putting yourself in a lot of different situations where you can use those situations later down the road, think, wow, I can't believe I really did that. And then hopefully it benefits you later in your life when you're in a situation. And I think over time you learn to handle those situations with more grace, perhaps, or you learn from that situation. I mean, it's not brain surgery for the most part. I mean, you can't mess up that bad. And the other thing I want to point out is if you do mess up, please take ownership. Do not take ownership and accountability for if you make a mistake, because there's nothing worse than somebody who makes a mistake and can't admit it, and be a problem solver and figure out how to fix it before it gets out of hand. I kind of digress a little bit. Sorry.
No, it's actually a good point. It reminded me, I got a 13-year-old who, no matter what I offer him, he'll just look at it first and then draw conclusions. You want to try this? And he'll go, no, I don't like it. How do you know? How do you know? And so when I think of things that were in the 20s, not anything I could take credit or responsibility for, but my mom required me to do things that I didn't like. And so even internships and jobs that I took, I wanted to work at an ad agency, but I went to a PR firm. I wanted to create the sexy ads that you saw on TV. I didn't want to be pitching stories to reporters and having them hang up on me on the phone. but I learned what I liked and what I didn't like, what I was good and what I wasn't good at by doing things that I didn't know about beforehand. And so that experience lends itself to new opportunities that you would not have otherwise known existed. So I definitely want to double down on that.
It's important to do what you love. Don't get stuck in something that you're really unhappy with, because you know, you have to, if you're not happy, people are going to know that you're not, if you're not happy in your job, people are going to, it's going to be a reflection on whatever company or situation that you're in. So I think it's important to find what you love, and you're going to have, and you may not be there yet, but you have to test the waters.
Mine was like a trust factor and a loyalty factor. Coming up with ideas, don't be afraid to go to your employer, your boss, and come up with a concept, but already have like a business plan in place to present the idea and have it thought out. So some things that I was like, oh, we should change this, and well, how? And I was ready and I was prepared, and I came, and then they said, I like it, now go make it happen. And I was in my 20s, and I'm like, really? Like, oh my God, this whole big, large corporation, and you're trusting me to go ahead and make this happen. And I did, and that was creating our corporate volunteer program. It sounds simple, a concept, you know, and we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary this year, so it's still in existence. It's blossoming bigger than ever for the company, but it's just an idea, but you don't be afraid to bring it to your employers. And we should be known as the city of innovation, where we want to be thinking outside the box. We're always a city of first. That'll never change, but like, bring your innovative ideas to others to hopefully make them all come to fruition.
Yep, and once again, I'll double down on that. I think that what you'll find in the city of Philadelphia sometimes is an old guard that'll tell you you're a baby all the way until you die. The people who are in leadership positions sometimes hang on to it till they have one foot in the grave and the other on a rollerblade. But until then, they don't let it go. And so sometimes you have to take the initiative to present your ideas and be unafraid that somebody's gonna cut them down, because that's the only way to find out if it works. And when it does work, you've gone so far down the road in the proving that you're qualified and that you're capable of doing the different jobs that you're interested in doing. Steve, you have anything you wanted to add, or you got a question?
So I had the good fortune of playing minor league baseball. So obviously that was in my 20s. And you know, a couple things. Baseball is a sport of failure, so I learned how to fail at a very young age, how to overcome failure and be okay with it. But also, I did a lot of volunteering. You know, even though I was 22, 23 years old, I used to volunteer in these small communities in Chillicothe, Ohio, and Peoria, Illinois, and all these different places, doing baseball camps, going to the children's hospitals and everything, and kind of taught me how to give back, and I realized I really liked it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I learned.
All right. The question from this audience member says, it looks like it's trying to get their bearing. What advice do you have for candidates who have multiple jobs on their resume, who are trying to prove that they're qualified in interviews but haven't found the right career as of yet? Seems like the person has a lot of experience but hasn't figured out how to.
That came from the audience?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I don't even really look too much at the resume. I don't want it to clash. I mean, I look a little bit at the resume, but that doesn't bother me too much. You know, somebody comes in and they kind of have it and they're confident. I think that speaks way more volumes than whatever's written on the piece of paper. So I think you go in, you're confident in it, you have a story behind it. You know, we tell in mortgages, we have, you know, if there's a story behind the mortgage, we can get it done. So sometimes it may not be that perfect scenario, but there's a story behind it. It all makes sense. So there could be people who've had multiple jobs. Certainly when I started out, you know, I had minor league baseball. Like, I felt like I was so behind every one of my peers when I was going for my first job. But there was a story behind it. It was a cool story to be able to tell. So even though at the beginning I didn't feel that way when I walked in, I wish I would have kind of pumped my chest out a little bit more and been okay with telling that story, because even if you hopped around from job to job, it's not the end of the world. There's some experiences and some valuable lessons. Probably went on more interviews than most people, right? You may have had more exit interviews than most people. So there's a lot of goods that you can take from negatives.
I think that first impression is the last impression, as Steve said. I've been in the position for hiring, and some really outstanding resumes come on my desk, like really superstars, right? But then I made the mistake. It was an intern, and hired them by a phone interview, never meeting them in person. And it was a wrong match. They did not fit well with the team and all that. And I think you said, that first impression is the last impression, but it's always, my favorite quote is by Maya Angelou. It's not always what you say or what you do, but it's always how you make someone feel, is that, that's the lasting thing. And so now any interview, the resume will get them in the door, but that is not the deciding factor at all, because the person we hired had the best resume out of all of them, and we had so many that came through, and we just said that this is a win-win, right? Not at all. So it is about your impression and the click of how you fit with the team, and also your leader. So you can have a really strong team, but you can have a great job, but if you don't, that leadership, if you don't have that connection with your leader for success, to someone to support you and help develop you, that also is an opportunity for you to find another path, because you need someone who's going to be your cheerleader to help make you progress, because your boss is only as good as their team. So you need that full circle.
I think it's hard to sometimes get through, if it's a bigger company, bigger corporation, to get through that HR with your resume. And if you have a typo in your resume, they're just not even going to look at it. So don't have a typo in your resume. I recently was looking at resumes for a board that I'm on to fulfill a position. I'm like, and my kid's like, oh, I can't believe. I said, well, it's kind of important to make sure you don't have a typo in your resume. But I think there's other non-traditional ways of finding jobs that are not with the big companies or going through the classified, going through classifieds anywhere, but online and that sort of thing. I'm really dating myself. But all the online, but LinkedIn and personal connections, and even Facebook. I actually found my current client through a Facebook post. So I think trying to look at other non-traditional avenues to find work.
I have a perfect example. So a lot of my YPN friends in the group will know we hired a guy 10 years ago who was a bartender at Jones, and I was sitting at Jones on a business networking meeting, and he came out from behind the bar because he saw that the waitresses were kind of slammed, and helped them out and was asking people if they needed help, and was filling water glasses and everything. I didn't see his resume, but I'm like, you know what, that kid cares, and you can't teach people to care. So everybody here's ran into that guy at Wawa or that CVS or Starbucks who actually makes eye contact with you and has a conversation and doesn't just make you look at the cash register. We hire people all the time who are in those non-traditional roles, but care. You can always teach somebody, about the other things. So I think it doesn't, the resume, although you don't want typos, it's not the most important thing. It certainly isn't.
I got the sign for the last question, but I see two on here, so I'm going to ask one of those long hyphenated questions. The first part's relatively easy, so that you can spend more time with the second, but so here I go. Do you have a daily routine or ritual that you think contributes to your success? And while you're at it, now that you are an alumni of YPN, are you still regularly engaged with YPN members? So a ritual that you have a ritual, and if so, what is it that makes you successful? And tell us how you engage with the organization now.
Well, my ritual is getting my children out the door by 7 and 7:30 in the morning, and it's like a fire drill.
Amen.
So we have fire drills every morning, and I try, because I work from home, and when it's been raining a lot lately, as you know, and it's hard to keep motivated and inspired, and keeping busy is really important. So even if I'm not as busy with whatever client I'm working on or working with, try to schedule lunches with either colleagues or business connections that you have, just to try to get more work for me. Or even just with a friend, or get together or go to the gym, or So for me, it's really important to keep moving so that I don't get in a rut in my own house and sort of, so you just kind of sometimes I had to pick myself up by my bootstraps, to be honest, when it's rainy and you're not so busy. But, so I think that makes me more successful. The busier I am, I'm a good busy person. So the busier I am, the busier I am. I do well as a busy person. So I try to stay busy.
I'm very spiritual. I'm very Catholic. I start my day with prayers because I'm very blessed. Very grateful and thankful for what I've been given in life. So I start off those because they get you through it, and I'm very positive. So I read a lot of positive quotes and motivational things, and then I drive my team crazy because I'm always coming in with these things, and they're like, "Oh my God, is anybody else like this?" Right? You know. But I do. I feel like that helps me get through because my day is just like this. I have no idea what to expect now in my new role. I'm drinking through a fire hose, and I'm loving every single minute of it. I'm learning every day, so I can't predict what my day is going to be like a lot of times. Just constantly meeting, and the emails that are coming through, like I said, I don't know the names of these people that are coming in my inbox. Usually you see a name and you reply right away. I'm just like, I don't know. But it makes me feel so proud to live in this city, to know there's probably like 25 other events going on tonight, right? And to know that this city is just as vibrant as it is. But I try to take advantage of every single opportunity that comes my way. So I'm now learning to do the drive-bys, and I'll come here and I'll stop over there, and so that's how my day is. And then at night, as anybody who knows me, at night is when I do my Instagram, post pictures and I do it all at night or sometimes in the morning. And that's it, nothing throughout the day.
Steve, rituals?
I have no kids.
John,
so
you want to tell
I
what I do in the morning? Did you want to tell them what I do in the morning? No. Yeah.
That's awkward.
My alarm goes off at 5:38. I go to the gym. I have to be done the gym by 7. I have to get my kids off to school, drop them off at St. Mary's, where Sheila's nephews go.
And my niece.
And your niece, sorry, for one more year, for a couple more months.
Yeah.
At St. Mary's at 5th and Locust at 7:45. I usually have an 8 o'clock appointment. I try to meet people. John's the one person who I'll kind of push it back to 9 because he goes the other end of the spectrum without kids. So, and then I'm usually out of the office 4:30 because I coach baseball 4 nights a week, 6 days a week. Thursday's my night off. Tonight I was supposed to have a game. I got it switched to Wednesday, so this is good.
Thank you.
And I'm back on the computer at like 8:30 at night till 10:30, 11 o'clock, go to bed, crash. As soon as my head hits the pillow, I'm out, and then I'm back doing it again. And the weekends are busier.
His wife's in there, Beth's in there somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah, we say hi. My mom will call us, she's like, "Don't you ever talk to your wife? I just told her about something 2 days ago." I'm like, "No, we really don't."
It feels like the time has flown by. It is actually time for the program to end. I would like to start by thanking all of our panelists that we have here, if you can join them. And also, if we can give yourselves a round of applause, because as Sheila said, you could have been anywhere tonight, but you were here, so thank you for coming.
Thank Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug was awesome.
Thank you. Just some minor housekeeping before we go network down the hallway. You guys will get that one later. There's so many more questions that you guys may have, and I know I had questions. When we go network, that's a great time to ask them. I don't know if everybody can stick around. I know I'll be around, and I hope you guys will stay around and enjoy the food. And get an opportunity to ask all the questions that you want. Make sure that you support the sponsors. Please do that. Make sure that you stop by the Instapics photo booth before you go. And for all YPN board members, if you could join us on stage here for a group photo. Thank you. And alumni up here on stage for the photo. Thank you again for coming out. Much appreciated.